Economist Lesiba Mothata joins us for more via Skype. Lesiba, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, Standard & Poor's kept South Africa's credit rating unchanged. Was this decision expected?
Well, this one was very hard to tell because Standard & Poor's had made it clear that they wanted to close the gap between the ratings in foreign currency and the ratings in local currency. So one was fretful. I was particularly not too sure whether they will affirm the local rating, which is the largest component of debt issued by the National Treasury, that which now still remains in the investment grade. One was fretful that they'll do so. And when I asked them why they left it unchanged, they said the SABC, South African Reserve Bank, and its policy constructs, and the trend that we begin to see from the new minister who continues to talk about the same policy constructs has made it clear to them that they ought not to be thinking about reducing or downgrading that 90% into junk, which I think is much welcome. It would have been a lot more hectic, a lot more impactful for South Africa if that decision arrived.
Now, Fitch on Thursday said that the country's foreign and local currency issue ratings are stable. Did this have any influence on Standard & Poor's decision?
Well, admittedly, they're very different institutions. They do come to conclusions in a very different way. Although the matrices they use, one could say they are very similar. I do think that here we've seen that Fitch and Standard & Poor's do have very unique way of thinking about South Africa. Fitch is more hawkish, a lot more severe in their view about South Africa. Both local currency debt and foreign currency debt is non-investment grade from their point. It was heartwarming to see that Standard & Poor's continued on a different view that suggests that we're still investment grade on the 90% of the debt that is issued.
Now, how does this announcement benefit South Africa's economy?
In a big way. Let's take a scenario of what if. If they had reduced the 90% of debt issued by the National Treasury, it would have set in motion for bond investors to begin to they'll be forced to sell South African debt. And that could result with a huge amount of money leaving the country, which is about $10 billion, and a currency that depreciates. The fact that they still give us another chance to deal with the issues is very good for the economy because a strong rand, which we've seen, surprisingly strong, one of the best performing emerging market countries, even with this cloud of ratings that are lurking behind, strong. Strong rand helps inflation, helps the petrol price that we have seen actually begins to decline. The consumer begins to feel the benefit of a stronger currency.
The National Treasury, Lesiba, has welcomed the decision and has basically said the key focus is to safeguard confidence and reclaim the investment grade ratings. What needs to be done to influence the agency's change the credit rating to an upward movement?
So it's good to hear the National talking about its intention to return back to investment grade. That we need to celebrate as a country because not many countries get to come back. Out of 23 that were downgraded, only 15 remain non-investment grade and only 8 were able to come back. So what needs to be done to make sure that we come back? I think it's very clear. For some time, there's been a lamentation around state-owned enterprises. While there's a process of making sure that the governance structure around it is clear, it has increasingly become even more clearer that much more is needed. Hopefully the new minister will make sure that not only governance is right, but that these state-owned enterprises are turned around to be fruitful. It may require leadership change in some of these state-owned enterprises.
Now, South Africa is currently grappling with the new Gupta emails. To what extent, if any, revelations will affect a brand South Africa?
Well, here's the test. We are a democratic society that is led by the Constitution. And here, there's a call to have an inquiry set together, a commission of inquiry around these issues. I think that needs to be set. It needs to be established, notwithstanding it has been that which the public protector has suggested earlier on, and I think that needs to be taken care of to make sure that we demonstrate how constitutionally based we are as a democracy, and one will remain hopeful in that way, because if it were to happen, we'll get to the bottom of the issues, and those are found wanting will be tried accordingly, and this will be a source of confidence that has so shaken by this situation.
Looking at Moodys, they rate South Africa 2 notches above junk. But does it have South Africa? It has South Africa on watch for a possible downgrade. When can we expect their scheduled announcement? Is there anything that will influence that announcement to come sooner or a bit later?
Yeah, so they had said when they made that review, they said they're going to put us on review. They'll give us between 30 and 90 days. I know they've been in the country. They have been in discussion with both those in the private sector and also the authorities. And one is expecting them to make a decision soonest. It's interesting that they actually have not given us a date. So one just waits. I would surmise it's going to be soon, a week or two from where we sit.
In terms of just going back to the issue of the Gupta emails and the new revelations, is there anything that can be done on the political side or just for the economy to get a better rating from the credit ratings agencies without having to take the political aspect of the negative side into account? Or is it basically going to be influenced by political issues in the country?
Yeah, so growth is important. It's been lamented by all rating agencies. And the way to get it, like Larry Summers, who is the Harvard professor, had said, that the cheapest way to induce confidence is the cheapest way to get stimulus. So when you have confidence, you can stimulate the economy a lot more. So let's do the right things. Demonstrate the strength of the country, which it does have, which is the Constitution needs to be put forward, and those that are found wanting need to be tried. But also, what we can do is work with business. There was a work group that was formulated that had fruits. I'm told that dynamic has changed, and there is a little bit of misunderstanding that has ensued there. We need to rekindle that, cure that relationship, to make sure that business confidence begins to turn around. Because if that were to turn, it will have much impact on investments, which could actually, in a cyclical fashion, ensure that the growth outcome in the country is sustained.
Lesiba, we'll have to leave it there for now. Thank you so much for joining us. That was economist Lesiba Mothata joining us via Skype.